The views and opinions expressed by the participants on this show are not necessarily those of Stewart Information Services Corporation, Stewart Title, or Stewart Insurance. Before you make any investment, you should seek the advice of your investment advisor or attorney.
Whether you're a real estate broker, realtor, homeowner, buyer, or seller, everything matters when it comes to real estate. This is Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title. Stewart Title's Bill Knapik and guests open the door to what really matters in owning, buying, and selling real estate. And now, Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title, brought to you by Stewart Insurance. Here to inform, entertain, and inspire, Bill Knapik.
It is Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title. I am your host, Bill Knapik. Thank you for joining us here on show number 480. That's right. That's the serial number of our show today. So we're glad you joined us. As always, simply go to stewart.com/radio. When you go there, you can see and hear the guests, of course, but also you can access our show archives. And there are many shows there, several years worth of audio and video where you can see and hear the tremendous guests right at stewart.com/radio. And today's show is going to be fun. We're going to talk about real estate, but we have some variety. So we're going to address investors, people interested in real estate photography, and oh yeah, we have a real live realtor right here next to me. Her name is Kelsey Casey with Realty One Group. Kelsey, welcome to the show.
Howdy, Bill. Thank you for having me.
I like that. Kelsey Casey. It has a super ring. In fact, people have already heard the name about 3 times. They can't forget it if they want to.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I actually blame my husband for that one. So.
Well, he's doing good work. So, Kelsey.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Let's tell people you are a real estate professional doing incredible work all the time. Let's tell people about your company.
Yeah, absolutely. So I founded Kelsey Casey Properties Group back in 2017. I actually worked for a title company at the time. The goal was to get my license and help people buy, sell, and lease. And it was just kind of a matter of navigating through how to be able to do so. So born and raised in the Woodlands, I typically work the greater Houston area. And I have the pleasure of working by referral. So getting to work with the people that I know and trust and grew up with, and friends and neighbors and family. So.
And that's one of the things we hear a lot in Houston and in Texas, born and raised, but I've not heard born and raised in the Woodlands. So that in itself is something very unique.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that helps your buyers and sellers, certainly in the Woodlands, I would think, in a major way.
It does. Absolutely. So I was born and raised in Panther Creek. My parents still to this day live in the exact same home. So it's interesting because I'm not just selling an area. I'm selling my hometown. I'm selling something that I've lived and breathed. I'm selling streets that I rode my bike down. I'm selling areas that I grew up on. So
something you believe in.
I do. I'm very passionate about it.
I'm not very familiar with the Woodlands as far as the details, but what is Panther Creek? That sounds interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Woodlands is a township, and it's developed in the form of different villages. And so the village of Panther Creek is more towards the front of the Woodlands and one of the beautiful villages of the Woodlands.
Well, one of the things I hear about, don't know, but you can tell us, in the Woodlands, it's beautiful. Certainly there's a lot of trees, but is there new construction there? Because I know that there's a lot of established homes and so forth and previously owned homes for sale, but what about new construction in the Woodlands?
Good question. So the Woodlands is actually fully developed, and so I think one of the last areas to develop is the island. They used to call it the George Mitchell Island, right there towards the front of the Woodlands. They just recently released those lots, but the Woodlands as a whole is really developed. They're actually focusing now on going up, right? So we're expanded out, and now they're focusing on going up in the form of condos in the area.
Isn't that's also a thing we don't hear much, is that,
right?
Hey, we're fully developed. That is an unusual thing, but I guess it speaks to the rate at which it has grown. And,
absolutely.
Of course, like you said, the next step, if you can't go side to side, north to south, you got to go up.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things I actually work a lot of, is working with clients that are kind of getting on the outskirts of the Woodlands. So both my husband and I, being born and raised in the heart of the Woodlands, found ourselves now living in Conroe, right? And so watching the development head north, it's heading east, it's heading west. And so 10 years ago, had you told me that I'd be living in Conroe, I'd probably tell you to go kick rocks. But now with all the development heading out that way, we call it home and we absolutely love it.
Well, let's give us a word on Conroe. And for those listening outside of the Houston area on the internet or whatever, Conroe is very close to the Woodlands, right?
It is.
Is it north or south? I forget.
It's north.
Right.
Yep.
And what's the drawing elements of Conroe? What do people like there?
Sure.
Other than being near the Woodlands.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that's one of them.
Absolutely. So being a little bit further north, you're still on the outskirts of the Woodlands, so you still get to tap into everything that the Woodlands has to offer. We're literally only 2 exits away. So a hop, skip, and a jump, and we're on 45, and we can be in the Woodlands. But we also get to tap into everything that Conroe has to offer. Every piece of development from restaurants. They've developed downtown Conroe. They're now offering wineries and breweries. And
In Conroe?
In Conroe. Yeah, in Conroe, you've got boutiques, you've got the Crichton Theater there that you can tap into, and we're only 15 minutes from the lake. So to be able to say that we're 15, 20 minutes from the Woodlands and we could be in Hughes Landing having dinner on Lake Conroe, or 15, 20 minutes and we could be on the lake having dinner on the lake. So you get to tap in and get the best of both worlds.
That's right. Again, for those listening outside, that's Lake Conroe, but also Conroe itself, correct me if I'm wrong, is on the east side of 45, Interstate 45?
East and west.
East and west.
Yes, sir.
So then as I'm thinking about the east side, you're also not that far from Lake Livingston, right?
Absolutely.
You could hit another big lake that's north of our city.
Absolutely. I hit 45 and I'm in Livingston in about 45 to 55 minutes. And so one of the beautiful things about Conroe and getting on the outskirts of the Woodlands is also tapping into new construction. So those that want to be in new construction, that want to have a newer home, the Woodlands is older. The Woodlands was developed quite a long time ago. So if you're looking for a newer home and looking to get in new construction and you want to build from the ground up, or you want to capitalize on something a little bit newer, then getting into the outskirts and somewhere like Conroe is a great idea.
It really sounds like you have so much to offer, and being near water, a lot of people like that, and you have several choices. There you are. And then that's not to mention, let's say there's people that, because I'm kind of familiar with that area, the Cold Springs, and going towards Livingston, you're also near the forest. You're near a lot of trees. Let's say someone doesn't want to be near water, but they want to be near the forest.
Yeah.
You got that too.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We're specifically in Grand Central Park. And so Grand Central Park, and those that are familiar with the area, if anybody remembers Camp Strake right off of 45, the old Boy Scouts camp is actually what was developed. And so one of the things that Johnson Development did was they left a lot of green space. So we have multiple ponds and parks and trails. And so you kind of get a very similar feel as the Woodlands with the mature trees and the parks and the ponds. But again, you're just kind of getting on the outskirts there.
We're talking with Kelsey Casey. Property Group. I like saying your name, Kelsey. I'm just saying.
I appreciate that.
So in the meantime, let's tell people about the activity levels up there in Conroe and the Woodlands. What's it like right now?
Oh my gosh. I mean, the options are endless, right? So anything from physical activity, if you want to get out and you want to walk the trails, if you want to get out and bike, et cetera, there's, so many different things that you can do within the Woodlands, outside of the Woodlands, tapping into one of the largest world amphitheaters right there in the Woodlands. The pavilion is one of the most beautiful places to be. So lots to offer in the Woodlands, Houston, Conroe area. And there's a big reason after going to Texas A&M and graduating that I came straight back. Never left.
You're not the only one in this room that has gone to Texas A&M. In fact, there are many Texas A&M graduates that listen to this show. We get emails all the time. So let's tell people, real estate-wise, a lot of sales going on. What's happening? Let's say I'm a buyer in your area, and I say, Kelsey, man, I want to find something a little bit away from the city.
Sure.
What do you have?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you're going to hear it often. I feel like every realtor is using the terminology that the market's shifted, right?
It's always shifting, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people and a lot of my clients have come to me, and there's some concern with the interest rates increasing. But at the end of the day, there's still great opportunity for both buyers and sellers in a market like this. And so I'm a firm believer that the best time to buy real estate is yesterday, right? And so those that are waiting for the interest rates to come down, I would just encourage you to have a conversation, whether it's with me or another real estate professional, to really make sure that you're educated on what's taking place in the market. Because the one thing I ask to all my clients that are waiting for those rates to go down is, what do we think is going to happen with the prices when rates go down? Right? We're going to have more buyers in the market. It's going to be more competitive. sellers are going to take advantage of that, and our prices are going to continue to skyrocket.
Well, let's take buyers for a second.
Sure.
Out of the last 10 buyers that you have helped, last 10 or so, how many, if any, have been from outside of Texas?
I would probably say about one or two. A lot of the individuals that I'm helping are already here locally, whether they're capitalizing on the equity in their homes. There's selling and then potentially downsizing or selling and upsizing. I would probably say out of the last 10, two relocating.
Where were they? Where were they from?
I have one that moved recently from Louisiana, and I have one that came from good old California.
I had a feeling that was going to come up. Okay.
I do. And then I've got a great family right now that I'm helping move out of the Woodlands area to Oklahoma.
Well, it's good to hear someone from Louisiana is making their way here,
Yep.
too.
Yeah.
And leaving all the Cajun food. But we have great food here. In our city, even the Woodlands and the points that you're talking about has become a major food area.
Absolutely.
So as far as, take again, last 10 buyers, how many have been cash, if any?
I would say that I'm working with 2 cash buyers right now, and both of those individuals are currently wanting to leverage the equity that they have in their homes. So a lot of the people, again, being born and raised from the area that I work, have lived in their homes for 25, 30 years. I work very often with friends and family in the Woodlands and even people just on the street that I grew up in. And so those homes are paid off. So people are kind of looking at what they want to do, and they're pulling all of the equity out of their homes, turning around and paying cash. So they don't have a mortgage.
Well, you have a degree from Texas A&M. Once again,
I
I'm
do.
sure they like hearing their name out there as they're listening.
Yes, sir.
In marketing. So let's tell
Yeah.
people your degree in marketing, how does that help your buyers and sellers?
Sure, absolutely. You know, you don't necessarily need a degree to get your real estate license, but it's been a huge value for me. So not only do I have a degree in marketing, but I have a certificate in sales, which is what I do on a day-to-day basis, right? But for me, it's all about relationships. I do get to tap into that beautiful Aggie network, but then also leveraging those relationships that I've built very diligently over the last 10 years of being in the real estate industry. Absolutely.
So let's tell people, what are you seeing any trends that we should know about in your area?
Trends. I would stick to new construction. I feel like a lot of people are really wanting a newer home. People are enjoying the aspect of kind of picking out their individual lot, picking out those features. And so I do get to work very often with clients in the new construction world. And especially in a market like this, again, a lot of people are concerned about those interest rates. But from a new construction perspective, the incentives out there right now are astronomical.
All of a sudden, we have the thing that you just mentioned. That word incentives is now part of the real estate process. We're talking with Kelsey Casey Property Group. Kelsey, before we close the segment, what else do you want people to know?
Sure. You know, one of the things that I hear very often is I feel like buyers and sellers or anybody needing help in the real estate world, they kind of hold off, right? They kind of navigate through the decision on their own, whether, you know, deciding to sell, deciding to buy. One of the things that I would encourage someone to do is get in contact with a real estate professional from the very beginning.
Like Kelsey Casey.
Yes, sir. Like Kelsey Casey Properties Group. Absolutely. But get in contact with a real estate professional from the very beginning, because all of those doubts and questions that you have is something that a real estate professional can help guide you through, not only from the beginning through the transaction, at the closing table and beyond.
And how can people reach you?
They can reach me on my personal cell at 281-253-3422. 281-253-3422.
And thanks for being with us, Kelsey.
Thank you, Bill. I appreciate you.
As we continue, it's time to talk to Tom Williams. His company is called Big City Images. He's a photographer. Hey, Tom, welcome to the show.
Hey, Bill. Thanks for inviting me. I think whenever someone's into photography, people assume that they've been into it for a really long time.
Right.
But a lot of the things that I've been passionate about over the years, I got into kind of later in life. So really in the last few years. And a lot of times I end up stumbling across something. So actually in the Big Bend region, I have a short-term rental. And to get any services out there, you pretty much have to do it yourself. So that includes photography. So to support my rental business, I ended up doing a real estate photography masterclass, doing my own photography, and just seeing how the difference, it was, you know, I was like, I couldn't believe how much of a difference it makes actually having the photography, the professional photography, and being able to, the bookings, you know, that I had was really good. So I was like, you know what, I think that I could make money doing this. So I started looking out in the region, out in West Texas, and
so now when you say Big Bend, that's West Texas, right? Okay,
out around Terlingua, Texas.
And we have such a big state. That's pretty far from right here, isn't it?
It is really far, but my family's liked going out there for years. And so this is kind of going into the short-term rental, but they don't have enough short-term rental out there for supporting all the tourism. So we got into that, and then that led to the photography. And then the brokerages, it's hard to get any service out there. So the brokerages, they all need professional photography. So the next thing I knew, I was working for a lot of the brokerages out there doing photography. This week, I'm going out there to do some work on a second rental that we're building. I'm almost completely booked up with photography now whenever I go out there. So
it sounds like you're serving two markets right here in the greater
really
Houston area,
yeah.
And you've developed the expertise out in West Texas.
Yeah, so in my short-term rental business, I ended up doing the photography as kind of a additional, revenue stream. And then I rebranded to grow the business out here to Big City Images. And so I did that last year. So we're located in Katy and servicing brokerages in Katy and Houston. And business has been doing really well.
Well, all real estate, when we sell real estate, when someone sells their home, property of any type, you need to have pictures, right? The pictures tell the story. Mm-hmm. And let's tell people how that can affect the process in either negative or a positive way by having great photography. It's very important.
It's really important. And I think even more so nowadays, everybody's very visual. We're kind of in the Instagram, generation. If you don't have professional photography on your listing, I mean, simply people are just going to pass it up. And once they see that good photography, it basically, as you hear, stops the scroll. So it's really important to at least have professional photography on your property.
Well, there's no question about it. In fact, one of the things you probably have done this yourself, I'll look at real estate in various cities just as an exercise, and it seems like the smaller cities, maybe up north, and I mean, they're taking pictures with iPhones, and they're bad pictures. So when you see bad photography, that really it makes an impression, and it's almost humorous in some cases.
It is. It really is.
I mean, they have the iron out or something in the sink. I just saw this the other day.
I actually heard a story not too long ago. Somebody is agent talking about picture that they saw for a listing, made it on the MLS, and the person was actually in their bed sleeping whenever the picture was taken. So
there you
probably
go.
got listed with someone sleeping in the bed.
That's hilarious. But that's what you find, and it's amazing the kind of things that are out there. So in photography, when we think about that in general, there's so many specialties in photography. Yeah. As far as real estate, as a real estate photographer, what do you think makes a great real estate photographer? What are the elements?
So attention to details, one of the big ones. Whenever you go into a property and start photographing things, there's so many things within the frame. All of your lights need to be on. You got to, anything that's not permanent or decoration needs to be put away. And then just before you take that picture, making sure that everything's right. And you haven't missed something. Otherwise, you end up taking more time to do it again. So I think attention to details, a really big one. And also willingness to go back. If it's not right, going back and doing it again. So I think having patience and a good work ethic's really important too.
And then, of course, also after the fact, in terms of editing, you have to do a lot with the pictures, I would think, composition, cropping, and different things like that.
Yeah, and what a lot of real estate photographers do, including us, we do editing in-house, but we also leverage third-party providers for editing services. To edit the photos for one house, it takes about 7 hours. There's no way to get around that. So if you could imagine, if you have to do 4 houses a day, that's a lot of hours of editing. So really the only way that you can manage volume as a real estate photographer is by outsourcing out a lot of your editing.
So interesting. So I'm sure your business has grown to the point where there you are outsourcing.
Yeah, it's the only way to keep up with it. I would say another thing that's really important is that you're a one-stop shop. A lot of agents, they don't want to go to one person just for drone. One person if they need a virtual tour or floor plans, or even headshots. They like to go to somebody that can offer it all, whatever needs they have for that property, that they can go to one person to take
That's a
care of
good
it
point.
all.
I'm glad you mentioned that. So it sounds like you're offering the full menu of all the things you just mentioned and probably more.
Yeah, as you know, if an agent needs any type of service for a property, we've got it. So we do your interior, exterior photography. We do drone photography. We're FAA licensed, which is really important if you're going to do any drone work. Also do virtual tours. We do floor plans, and we talk about trends. It's gotten to be so important that we actually include basic floor plans in all of our photography. Also do headshots. Let's see. I don't know if I left anything out.
So, well, as you were thinking about this, one of the first things I'm thinking about is the menu as you're discussing this. It's probably on your website. Let's tell people your website right now.
Okay, it's www.bigcityimages.com.
Easy to remember, bigcityimages.com. You mentioned the drone. That in itself is a specialty, I would think. Yeah. And I don't know, 5-10 years ago, we weren't thinking about drones, but now there are things, flying cameras. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
So how often are you using the drones out there?
I would say a few times a week I'm using the drones. Drone work has gotten really popular, especially for a luxury listing. Another thing is getting twilight drone photos. So we've got a lot of beautiful sunsets in the Houston area, but a lot of times it's hard to appreciate it because you got to get above the tree line, right, to be able to see that. So you can really showcase a property by getting above the tree line, being able to show the property and then that beautiful sunset. So twilight drone photography's going to be a good one for us.
That's awesome. What kind of drone are you using? Do you have several in your?
DJI. Right now we've got one drone. It's the DJI Pro 2S.
And about how high
Air
do they?
2S, sorry about that.
Is there an average height that you're filming from when you have the drone?
Yeah, under 400 feet. Typically, we're only
That's
about
still pretty high.
Yeah, I mean, so legally, for
Right.
FAA guidelines, you can't go above the 400 feet, but. Typically, it depends on the property, what you're photographing.
Right.
But typically, we're not that high off the ground. Maybe 100, maybe between 100 and 200 feet.
And what, as far as drones and other things, what are some of the other trends, if any, that you're running into?
Floor plans. So during the pandemic, both virtual tours and floor plans got really important. With people now going in to physically see properties, we still have hundreds of people moving here to Houston every day, and the virtual tour is a huge help for people that are moving out of here from out of state because they may physically not be able to go see the property. But the 2D floor plans, I keep seeing an increase utilization in those. And when you look at studies, the third most important thing besides just the photography and the basic listing information is having 2D floor plans. That way you can look at the pictures of the property and then see the actual flow with the floor plans. So we actually started including those, just a basic set of floor plans for free in all of our photography for any listing.
So once again, your company is a one-stop shop in the real estate world, and that's very important for the real estate professional and even the brokers.
Yeah, it is. Being able to go to one person to get any of your needs and be able to coordinate that.
So when, let's say a realtor has a listing and maybe it's price-wise, it's a $600,000 listing. Mm-hmm. How do they decide what plan? Like I would think it's extra to have the drones, right?
Yeah.
If we say we want a basic plan, how do you have your different menu for the pricing?
So the basic, I would say most listings that are, $350,000 and below, typically it's getting interior exterior photography. I'm adding on a basic floor plan, and that's pretty much what most is of the
normal package.
Yeah. And then so if we talk about pricing, a lot of the properties are 2,500 square feet and below, which runs about $175. But once you get above, definitely above 400,000, 500,000, 600,000 and above, then you're getting more into the luxury properties. And so you're getting the photography. A lot of times I'm adding video tours on as well, floor plans with fixed furniture, and drone photography as well.
And let's go even further. When we have $1 million plus or multi-million dollar property, they might have some extra things that they want to market the property.
Typically, the more expensive the property, the more services are going to be provided. A lot of the luxury properties, they've got a video tour, they've got the floor plans, and they've got the photography. Sometimes they'll add a virtual tour as well.
As far as the marketplace right now, when we're talking in that luxury, the $1 million plus or so, you seeing a lot of activity right now?
Yeah, actually, and those seem to be the houses that are selling the fastest. So whenever I'm working with a brokerage, I consider myself as a team and part of the team and selling the property. Right? I'm a part of that team. So I like tracking the property as well after we do the photography. And a lot of the luxury properties I've seen going in less than a week. And then some of the, I guess, non-luxury properties are staying on the market a lot longer. But that is one that I've noticed is they seem to be selling a lot faster.
We're talking with Tom Williams, Big City Images, bigcityimages.com. Tom, before we close the segment, what else do you want people to know?
I guess I want to let people know we're conveniently located in Katy, so we can handle Katy area and then West Houston. Also, we're veteran-owned. So I was U.S. Army. Also, my son is part of the business as well. He's Texas National Guard and actually deployed right now, so I'm one man down, but he'll be back in a year.
Well, we thank you and anyone listening in the armed services, first responders, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Appreciate it so much. And let's tell people how they can reach you, Tom.
Okay, you can reach me at 228-238-5206 or thomas@bigcityimages.com.
And again, the website is bigcityimages.com. You can call them at 228-238-5206. Tom Williams. Thanks, Tom, for being with us.
Thanks, Bill. Appreciate it.
Let's talk to Cindy Pham. She is with Asset Preservation Incorporated. Cindy, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
So first, let's tell people, Asset Preservation, you have a specialty helping investors in the real estate world. Let's tell people what you do.
Okay. So it's 1031 exchange. It's a federal tax code. Internal Revenue Code, Section 1031. It allows the investor to defer capital gains taxes when they sell their investment property, a property of like kind, which is going to be real property. It could be a house. It could be commercial property. It could be land. So all that. If you've got a property of a trade or a business or property for investment, you can sell that and exchange it for a different one, and you can defer the capital gain taxes.
So certainly we need, in investing, in real estate investing, we need all the help we can to have all the advantages we can. So here's the 1031, and you've been doing this for many years, so you are very knowledgeable about this, right?
I am the 1031 exchange expert.
Expert.
I do this all day long. I talk to a lot of clients. I kind of consult them and kind of give them the qualifications for the 1031 exchange, and then I open up their exchanges.
So it's a process that actually begins.
Correct. So asset preservation is a qualified intermediary. So back in the day, this tax code's been more than 100 years old. So it started off with us swapping properties. You had a piece of property, I had a piece of property. We swapped properties. There was no money involved. As the tax code evolved, you said, hey, I want to sell my property to Cindy, and I don't want Cindy's property. I want a different property. I want Tom's property. So the IRS said, okay, Bill, you can sell to Cindy and buy from Tom
They're so nice, aren't they?
Yeah, as long as you don't touch the money. Because when we swapped properties, there was no money involved. So now if you're going to sell to Cindy and buy from Tom, you can't touch the money either. So that's where the qualified intermediary comes in. We come in before you close. We're required to hold the money in between you selling your investment property and buying the next.
So thus we save taxes.
Correct. Well, you defer.
Taxes, and it sounds like this would-be investor or the investors that are using this tool just keep on buying. Does that happen, or they ever just bail out?
So you keep on doing a 1031 exchange. So I always, you can potentially permanently defer it by continuing on with a 1031 exchange. So, for instance, if you sell property A, instead of paying the taxes, you defer to property B. Once you sell property B, you can sell that. You either pay the taxes for A and B, or you keep on doing a 1031 exchange to property C. You can keep on going until you pass away. And then once you pass away, your heirs get a step up in basis. They inherit the property. All your taxes kind of basically vanish. I always say Uncle Sam's in love with you until you die, and once you die, he's so sad he goes away, and then he's not in love with your children. they're too young for you.
But they have all the bases covered, however you want to say it, right? But so it's interesting. What about if I buy a property, then I sell the property, I defer within this 1031. How does it affect me, the investor, if I buy a more expensive property the next time or a lesser expensive property?
If you buy something same value or more, you had a full tax deferral.
Okay.
If you buy something that's less, you pay taxes on the difference. Because let's say you sold a property that was $500,000. Okay, you're trading a $500,000 property for a different $500,000 property or more. So if you sold a property that's $500,000 and bought a property that's $400,000, well, that's not a fair trade. So the IRS wants to tax you on the $100,000 that you didn't spend.
So as we talked about details previously, there's a lot of details in this. And just like in the real estate transaction itself, that we use real estate professional because of all the details. When we get involved in this 1031, Cindy, it sounds like we really need the help of your company and of you with asset preservation because of these details.
Yes, and every deal is different. There's a lot of complications to it. It can be a lot of complications to it. And so I'm here to help. I explain this all day long. I teach classes. I can go for hours, actually.
Well, certainly at Stewart Title, you teach classes with our business development people, but also are there people that are out there exchanging properties and buying properties and selling and buying and investing that don't know about this 1031? How often is that a factor?
Oh, probably the biggest mistake. The biggest mistake that I get is that the client calls me after they've closed on the property, and then they realize, oh my gosh, how much taxes do I have to pay? And then, Cindy, can I do a 1031 exchange? I go, sure. Well, when do you close? Well, I closed yesterday. And that means you've already received the money. The money's in your hands. There's no trading anymore. It's too late for the 1031 exchange. So the biggest mistake is closing before you are involved in the 1031 exchange. We have to be involved before you close.
Interesting. Along the way of real estate buying and selling, whether it's investment or not, there's so many lessons to learn along the way.
And so people ask me, in my classes that I teach, I go, why do a 1031 exchange? First, who wants to pay taxes? Second, you got more purchasing power. So let's say with all the tax brackets, you've got, let's say I sold a property, let's say California here. You got depreciation recapture tax. You've got capital gain taxes, 15 or 20%. You've got the net investment income tax. That's another 3.8% tax. And then you have your state taxes. So let's say if I sold a property that's $1 million and on the highest tax bracket and all that, I'll be taxed around $350,000. So I net out $650 on that sale. I can either buy another property that's $650 or I could have reinvested $1 million. And then if I leverage that, and then so you got your, no one wants to pay taxes, you got more purchasing power. It's almost like you paid $350,000 to the IRS when that's almost like with interest rates now, how high is that? That's almost like an interest-free loan from the government, right?
Right. So there's a definite advantages. And but obviously the thing is, if someone is in the process of selling an investment property, they should talk to you way before and learn if they're not already tuned in.
Yes.
And you're helping people. Now, first of all, there's kind of the examples we're talking about right now. It sounds like one person selling an investment to buy another. But your company, Asset Preservation, you're helping investors of all sizes?
Correct. So like kind's very broad. So I've seen little lots that are like, $60,000. They bought it for $60,000 and they, sold, made a gain on that. And so little residential lots that they've held for a couple of years. Houses, if it's a house, it's got to be a rental. It cannot be your home that you're living in. If it's a house that your child lives, that you bought for them to go to college, unless they're paying rent, that's considered a second home, which does not qualify. So if it's a house, it's got to be a rental. And it could be commercial, land. And you can go from, you don't have to buy the like type. So you can go from land to a house to a commercial building. You can do multiple properties. Let's say I've got 3 or 4 properties, and now I want to buy an apartment building. Different types of classes of real estate, and we can do multiple properties in exchange. Now, the kicker is that you have a timeline to complete your 1031 exchange. So your timeline starts once you we close on your relinquished property, which is the property that you're going to sell, you have to have 45 days to identify what you're going to buy.
The next property.
And then you have to close on that property within the 180 days from the time we sold your relinquished property.
So from the time I close, I have 45 days to find my next property.
To identify
it, and then to close how many days?
180 days. So the 45 days is inclusive of the 180 days.
So many details. That's why we need a professional like you, Cindy Pham, right?
Yes, I dream of this at night.
Well, it makes me, first of all, let's just say this. As far as all the things in the real estate world, I mean, we're talking to real estate professionals here all the time on the show for 480 shows. Of all the things you could be doing in real estate, here you are in the 1031. How did you find this niche that you apparently love so much for these many years?
Well, tax-wise, it's not like the most fun thing. So I've learned through dealing with a lot of different clients, and just this helps people. This is what I do where no one hates me.
I bet they're real happy when
I'm here. I help the client make the client defer their taxes so they don't have to pay the taxes. I help the realtor, help them as a resource, because sometimes you just don't know who to refer to, and as far as like I'm the good.
You're one of the good guys.
I'm the good guys.
That's right. Well, I'm sure they're very thankful after the fact, and when the way that you help them. Also, I would assume, but I don't want to. So here we are. We're in Houston, Texas, and you're helping people here in Houston. But this 1031, is it the same all over the United States?
Correct.
Or are there nuances?
It is a federal tax code, so you can sell anywhere within the U.S. So I just got one recently from selling in Michigan and buying in Virgin Islands. Virgin Islands is part of U.S. property. So
that's interesting.
I've got another one selling from Hawaii going to Texas, and I get a lot of California to Texas too.
Right, especially in the last couple of years, I'm guessing.
Yeah, and then we get a lot of Northeast going to Florida too.
Super awesome. Cindy, before we close the segment, we need to have you back and keep us updated. But for right now, what else do you want people to know?
Gosh, there's so much to say, but I'm always here to help. So like if you have any questions, just please feel free to reach out to me. My number is 281-923-4269. 281-923-4269. Call me or text me or email me.
Sounds good. Cindy, thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much.
Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title would not be possible without our partner, Stewart Insurance, with a focus in real estate and a special focus on real estate brokers. Stewart Insurance creates insurance plans to address the risks facing our industry today. They invest a significant amount of time helping real estate broker owners offset and manage their risks. Here he is once again, John Bramlett with Stewart Insurance.
Hi, Bill.
John, here we are. People wait every week. We know they do for insurance information from you. And once again, we're providing what people want.
I have a question for you.
All right.
You ready?
The answer is yes.
Okay.
What's the question?
We'll go forward. What happened on June 1st of this year?
Hurricane season began?
Very good.
Yes.
Very good.
See, I could almost be qualified to be an Aggie.
You almost, yes. Well, I already told you you're a honorary.
That's right. Thank you.
So you've earned that. So, yes, hurricane season, the Atlantic hurricane season began June the 1st and runs through November the 30th. So our federal weather forecasters at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration are predicting a slightly less active 2023 hurricane season. So that would mean somewhere between 12 and 17 named storms, 5 to 9 become hurricanes, and 1 to 4 become major hurricanes. So that's what our friends at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration are projecting. But we got to remember that it only takes one storm.
You read my mind. It only takes that one.
That's exactly right. So think about last year. We had one really bad storm, but that was Ian in Florida.
Oh, that's right.
West coast of Florida, and did over $113 billion with the B dollars in damage.
I remember the pictures are coming to my mind right now from the TV.
So it's just a matter of it's good that they're saying that we potentially could have a lesser season, But it's important to keep in mind that all it takes is one.
Now, when they say this, they're talking about for the Gulf Coast, not just the Houston area. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay,
They're talking
all right.
about it's the Atlantic. So they'll form in the Atlantic. Now, whether the storm will run up the East Coast or move into the Gulf and become a storm that would potentially affect us.
It also seems recently there was a tragedy in Louisiana. It was hit hard. I forget, Grand Isle, Louisiana, or something like that. I don't know. It might be 2 years ago, but yeah.
But I mean, we had one really bad storm last year, but we had a bunch of that did have some effects. But Ian was the one that caused a significant amount of damage. But the point is it's just that one could cause. So at this time of the year, if you're considering flood coverage, you need to probably go ahead and have a conversation with your insurance advisor. And there are a couple of different types of flood coverages that are out there. There's private flood insurance, or there's flood coverage from the National Flood Insurance Program.
That's right. Two types. I have the national program.
Yes, you do.
From Stewart Insurance, by the way.
Yes, you do. And we offer what's called a write your own. So our partners have the ability to write National Flood Insurance Program, just the convenience of going through an insurance company, or we can write directly through the NFIP's website, or private companies. So private insurance companies are offering flood coverage, and there's some distinctions between both that are worth understanding. On the National Flood Insurance Program, they cap the structure liability limit at $250,000, and they cap the personal property limit at $100,000. For private coverage, there's a potential to have higher liability limits for both the structure and personal property. You also might have the ability to have broader coverage through the private insurance. So, for example, loss of use. The NFIP program does not offer loss of use, but some private forms do. So that would be a potential one. So if you're out of your home, it could help with the cost of renting another place while your home was being repaired, as an example. NFIP can be a shorter claims process. So sometimes a private, the actual claims process can be a bit longer with a private company. You've got a potentially greater chance of a claim being denied from a private company. The NFIP is going to continue to provide coverage even if you have a claim. So, for example, you had a claim.
That's right.
But NFIP...
Don't tell anybody.
I won't. Just between you and I. And
it was brutal.
The millions that are listening right now.
It was brutal. And I was thinking about that, and my hat's off to the assessor, I forget whatever, adjuster.
Yes.
But my whole neighborhood was wiped out right here on Post Oak. And it was a tragic scene, heartbreaking, PTSD worthy. And that adjuster came out, and these guys are busy, the guys and girls are busy when a tragedy like this happens, how they're able to get it all done with the massive amount of people that get afflicted. It's my hat's off to them. They did a great job, by the way.
Well, and that is one of the beauties of the National Flood Insurance Program. If you've had a flood claim, you can still have coverage. With a private firm, they may deny coverage or they may not renew coverage because you've had a claim. So there are pluses and minuses for both. So that's why it's important to have a good insurance advisor that you can visit with to determine, based upon your needs, whether a private plan makes more sense or the program through the National Flood Insurance.
Well, I would say two things. Number one, ask the right questions of someone, let's say with Stewart Insurance, an associate at Stewart Insurance. And then number two, I'll quote the motto of the United States Coast Guard, which is Semper Paratus. Be prepared, always ready. So we don't need to wait. In my case, in my personal insurance, I'm not waiting for June 1st to buy my policy. I bought it way back because I do not want to be caught short in the event. Now, I've since moved home, so I don't know what's going to happen at the new home, but I don't want to be caught short. Be ready, be prepared, like the Boy Scouts and the Coast Guard.
Absolutely. Well, and it's important to realize, because if we start to see, if you're purchasing your flood insurance through a mortgage, because you've got a mortgage on your home and you're in the process of buying the home and you're purchasing it, if you purchase the flood insurance prior to closing, when you close, your coverage will begin, even if there is a named storm, let's say in the Gulf, for our local listeners. If you're purchasing flood coverage and it's not required, and there's a named storm, you're going to have to wait at least 30 days. Let's say you decide a day after you buy your home that you know what, I do want that flood insurance.
And you got to wait.
You got to wait 30
days. Right.
So, again, it's just a matter of, as my dad says, now is better than later.
That reminds me, when I bought my new home 5-6 years ago, I had that very conversation with your tremendous associate at Stewart, May. She helped me because she's laid it right out, because I think there was a storm in process around the time or thereabouts. So, yeah, no, your people do a great job at helping people, letting them know the details of what can happen.
Well, our personal lines team is fantastic. And,
Absolutely.
They really are knowledgeable, and I know when I'm out teaching classes and I always get questions that stump me, but I can go back to the office and have them answered really easily, and I can respond back to the folks who are in the class about that specific question. No, they're a fantastic team.
And not only that, one of the other benefits I noticed at Stewart Insurance, but also at Stewart Title, the longevity of the associates that are there. You have people, May, as I mentioned, have been there many years, just like many of our escrow officers and business development people at Stewart Title.
Well, we do. We have a committed team of both insurance advisors and support people that work with our families and individuals on their personal insurance, as well as working with title and attorney agents, real estate brokers, realtors, property management firms, small lenders on their business insurance.
Be prepared.
Be prepared.
And I just said, get some flood insurance. I don't care where you're at in the Houston area. And certainly you're serving, Stewart Insurance, that is, serving not just the Houston area, but there are other considerations around the country. Each area is different. But right here, we get a lot of rain.
Well, absolutely. And the National Flood Insurance Program recognizes counties all over the U.S. So there are, over 20,000 municipalities that are part of that program. So most everybody that's listening to us is probably in some semblance of a flood zone. Now, you may be less likely to flood, but you're still in the flood zone. So it's important to at least have that conversation about, should I consider flood coverage? Because let's say you live along a lake or a river, that rises, there's a flood. If you're in the mountains and you live in the valley and the snow melts in the spring and the groundwater can't absorb, there's a flood.
So many things to be mindful of. John, before we close the segment, what else you want people to know?
Well, if you'd like to be properly insured, and all that means is that you're comfortable with the decision that you made, that you know how much risk you're taking on as an individual and how much risk you're placing on the insurance company, we can help you out with that. Whether it be your home, wind, auto, flood, motorcycle, watercraft, or your business insurance, errors and omissions, cyber liability, general liability, workers' comp, we can help you out. And you can reach us at 866-798-2827. That's 866-798-2827. Learn more about us at stewartinsurance.com or email us at stewartinsurance@stewart.com.
I understand that you also have a Texas A&M hotline.
We do. It's 866-798-2827. We just opened up one out to Big Bend.
Is that right?
Yes. 866-798-2827.
Sounds good to me. John Bramlett with Stewart Insurance. Thank you, John.
Always a pleasure, Bill.
Well, as we close the show, he is back. Tom Williams with Big City Images. Tom, before we close things down, what else do you want people to know?
I guess I just want to remind people that we're a one-stop shop for
one-stop shop.
Yeah, so we've got it all. We've got your interior, exterior photography, drone, floor plans, virtual tours, headshots, whatever you need for your real estate business. We've got it covered.
You imagine years ago in the history of photography, they were trying to get good images. Did they ever think that there'd be flying cameras?
I don't think so.
That is amazing. I mean, we call them drones, but the bottom line, these are cameras that are out there flying around under the direction of qualified people like you, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. Qualified. So
we don't want just anybody running the drone, do we?
No, you don't. There's too many things that can happen, especially in the Houston area. There's so many. I mean, you really got to be careful with what's going on overhead in the airspace. So I get warnings often when I'm flying, that there's a plane nearby, and then I'm looking out. I'm like, yeah, there sure is. I better get a little lower.
That's right. Well,
so you got to be careful.
You've got to do it right. And Tom, let's tell people, if someone wants to use your services right here, your photography services for the real estate world right here in the Houston area, what should they do?
They should go to my email. Send me an email, thomas@bigcityimages.com, or go to our website, www.bigcityimages.com.
Thank you so much for being with us. Kelsey Casey is back. Speaking of drones or something, right? As we land this drone.
That was a good one, Bill.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. What else should we know? Kelsey Casey.
Sure, absolutely. I would say the one thing that I want to reiterate is the importance of connecting with a trusted real estate professional. So instead of listening to your mother's aunt, sister, brother that's telling you that
they just got their license.
Yes, they just got their license.
Just got her license.
I would say, there's a lot out there right now. There's a lot of information. There's a lot of misinformation. So connect with the real estate professional and connect with them early.
That's right. That sounds good to me. And let's tell people how they can reach you, Kelsey Casey.
Sure. You can reach me at 281-253-3422.
Now, you mentioned your husband, but also you have 2 canine companions that are probably listening to the show.
I do.
And their tails are wagging. As many dogs that listen, it happens all the time.
I'm sure. We bought them a house a few years back, and we just live in it. So I've got old BB and Boss.
They're awesome. Bulldogs, right?
Yeah, they're bulldogs. One's 120 pounds and one's sitting at 40 pounds.
Low to the ground.
Yeah,
I love to see the
absolutely.
bulldogs. They're so, speaking of photography, they're so photogenic. All dogs are wonderful, but the bulldog has a certain magic with the camera.
Oh, definitely. Between real estate and bulldogs, I get made fun of often. I have over 45,000 photos in that phone, and it's full of bulldogs and houses.
And your phone number is?
It is 281-253-3422.
Kelsey Casey. I'm going to be saying that on the way home.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it.
And speaking of great names, the greatest name in the 1031 world is Cindy Pham with Asset Preservation. Cindy, you got about an hour or two. Go ahead. But it's going to come in the form of 1 minute.
Yes. The important thing is that you have to use a qualified intermediary to hold the funds for a 1031 exchange. You want to know about the security of where the money is and who's holding it. So Asset Preservation, we're a wholly owned subsidiary of Stewart Title. So therefore, we're insured, we're bonded, but also Stewart Title can give us a letter of assurance saying that your money is safe. So when you are doing your 1031 exchange, you want to know that when you cannot touch your money, you want to be secure to know that you are with a reputable, reliable company that will honor the money will be there for replacement because...
And that's right. You want to deal with a company you know will be there, like Stewart Title, like Asset Preservation, like Stewart Insurance. And Stewart Title, by the way, as a history, we are almost 130 years old.
Yeah.
So when someone thinks of a title company, or in your case with Asset Preservation, we are rated by independent companies with the highest of ratings. So if something does go awry, you want to deal with a company like Stewart Title Asset Preservation that's going to be around.
Yes.
Good advice, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Sounds good. Cindy, how can people reach you?
281-923-4269. 281-923-4269. That's my cell. Text me or call me.
Do you have a dog?
I do. Milo.
He's
a multi-poo.
I heard about the multi-poos are tremendous, I hear.
Yeah. He's about 11 pounds, but he's got a tremendous personality.
I'll bet. And thank you, Cindy Pham. Thank you for everybody for being here with us today. As always, simply go to stewart.com/radio. That's right, stewart.com/radio, where you can see and hear all the guests. And check us out next week as we have tremendous guest once again on the show. Simply go to stewart.com/radio. I am your host, Bill Knapik, together with John Bramlett, Tom Carpentier, Larry Warren, Justin Ramirez. We will see you next week. Thanks for listening.